Hi, Yuri here from TouchUpDirect. Today we're going to be working on a 2018 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. This type of vehicle gets a lot of use off-road, overlanding, just general off-roading, gets a lot of trail damage, and we're going to show you how to use the TouchUpDirect Aerosol kit to fix it. Toyotas typically have the color code in the driver's side door jamb. There's some text on the bottom here. It says C/TR 218. The 218 is the color code for this vehicle. Remember, before starting any painting project, to check your color first. We provide a test card for you to do this. Make sure to apply the color and the clear coat. It's the only way to know for certain that the color is correct. Sometimes there are errors in shipping or people order the incorrect color. It's not a problem. This is the time where you'll find out if you have the right color. So we took a look around on the 4Runner and realized this is the worst damage on the vehicle. This was scraped up from a rock while they were off-roading, and really assessing it, you can see that it's scratched pretty well, pretty deep. So we're going to use an aerosol kit to do this. We're going to have to sand it, prime it, then apply the color and clear coat. So we'll walk you through the entire process. The first step to any paint project is to clean the surface. Dish detergent is very good because it removes grease. I'm going to use Dawn here because it's readily available. Mix it with a little water, take a towel, and just wipe the surface down. Anywhere that you're going to be painting, make sure it's nice and clean. Then we'll dry it. And we're ready for the next step. We've determined that we're going to be painting this area, so we want to mask off the area around it because we need to sand this and we don't want to damage the paint where on the rest of the car where we're not going to be sanding. So this doesn't need to be a super accurate tape job. We're just making it so that we protect the other parts of the finish. Okay, again, don't worry too much about this looking pretty because it's coming right back off once we're done sanding. We're going to wet sand this area. We need to scuff it up so that the primer will adhere to the paint. In this case, it's pretty gouged, so I'm going to use 500 sandpaper for that. We're going to do it wet sanding. It's a matter of just dipping the sandpaper into the water. This creates a little bit less friction, and so it also keeps the sandpaper cleaner as you're working on it. And we're just going to smooth out the scratches here. Eventually, we're going to scuff all the gloss areas that are going to be repainted. But for now, I'm going to focus on these scratches. Keep the paper nice and wet. It helps keep it cleaner. It makes it sand better. This car had some pretty deep scratches on it, so we did use a power tool to cut through them faster, smooth them out quicker. We're going to continue now with the normal wet sanding. I'm using the 500 grit to finish this off, to scuff this area, to smooth this out even more, and then we'll be ready for primer. Okay, we've thoroughly scuffed the entire area that's going to be painted. This lighter area is bare plastic, so we have to make sure that when we're applying the primer that this is covered thoroughly. We'll then wet sand after we prime to smooth this all out and make it blend nicely. There is the chance that these deeper scratches will still show through. If that's the case, we're going to apply multiple coats of primer and wet sand until we see no trace of these scratches. We'll show you that process as we go. Now we're going to remove the tape. Again, this was only for protection as we were sanding. So the next time we're going to retape and we're going to do a much nicer job. So the next step here is remove this tape and then retape, protecting all the paint on the vehicle, and then we're on to primer. In this case, because we have a lot of bends in this panel, we're going to use this 3M tape that stretches more, so it'll allow us to nicely tape off this edge. Then we'll be using the normal masking tape to hold the paper on that protects the rest of the paint job. Now we're going to paper off the rest of the car to protect it from overspray as we're spraying the primer in the color and clear coat. You can use newspaper. We have painter's paper here, but any quality paper that will keep the paint from soaking through and getting on the car, it will work perfectly fine. Okay, we've taped off the entire car, put the paper on to protect it so no overspray gets anywhere. Now it's time to apply primer. And there's a few things we need to do first. One, we take the wax and grease remover wipe. This will get off any residual, well, wax or grease, as the name implies. Wipe it in one direction. We'll let that dry for a moment. Okay, after the wax and grease remover, we are ready to apply primer. We're going to go with the tack cloth over the area one time. That'll just pick up any lint or dust that may have settled. I already shook the primer can for about a minute, so we're ready to apply. Now we're ready for our second coat of primer. I'm going to go over it with the tack cloth again to keep any dust out of there. The primer covers very well, so it doesn't need to be pounded on. It covers so easily, it's very thick, so if you put it on too heavy, it's going to run. So you can see I'm just going light, short spurts. Just making sure everything's covered. That was bare plastic. Once that's dry for about 30 minutes, we'll wet sand it with 1200, smooth it all out, then we'll be ready to apply color. Now that the primer's dry, to get a really nice smooth finish, we're gonna wet sand this. You can use anywhere between 12 and 1500 grit. I have 1500 here that I'm gonna be using. It's just to smooth it out nicely. This surface is very smooth. It's really nice. The primer blends into the stock paint very nicely. There's going to be a hard tape line where the primer meets the stock paint if we don't remove this paper and wet sand it. So we're going to take this area off. We don't have to take all the paper off. We're going to take this area off, retape it, do a little bit more wet sanding, make sure it's nice and smooth where the primer and this area blends very nicely into the stock paint. We've gone ahead and removed the blue tape. You can see the lines here. This is a tricky situation that a lot of our customers get into. You have the potential to have this hard paint line here. We want to get rid of that so that the paint looks perfectly smooth. That's why I removed the tape. I'm going to go around the edges and sand all of it. It's going to make the initial repair area a little bit bigger, but we're not going to worry about that because we can fix that later with the clear coat and with polishing. So we're just going to go around the edge here and make sure it's nice and smooth. We don't want a hard tape line. We don't want to be able to feel it. In areas where you have a body line like this, it's less critical. The body line will hide that hard tape line. That's why when you do your initial taping off, it's always good to try to use a body line if you can. Go around and feel for edges. If you can feel the edge, you're going to be able to see it after you paint. Okay, all the edges feel nice and smooth. So now we have to retape off all the areas we don't want paint. We've lengthened the area of the repair a little bit from the sanding, but that's okay. We're gonna retape and accommodate for that and start to spray the color. So you can see that we retaped the job. We peeled off all the blue tape. We had to adjust some of the yellow tape and whatnot. We did extend the area a little bit because we scuffed the clear coat on the outskirts of the repair area just a little bit. This is all fine because later on in the process with polish, we can get this shine back. The idea was to make it very smooth. You can't feel a transition from primer to paint. So once we apply the color in clear coat, you won't be able to tell where the primer ends and the paint starts. We're now ready to add some color. This is a TouchUpDirect Toyota Attitude Black, color code 218. The way we fill our cans leaves a little bit of residual paint in the cap. It is not a used can. This is brand new, and this is perfectly normal. The first step is, as always, wipe the area again with the tack cloth. This really minimizes the chance of any dust or dirt getting stuck on the paint job and will make it look much nicer. I've already shaken this can, so we're ready. This is just gonna be a matter of the first coat, very light. We just wanna hide that primer. One coat, let it dry. You'll know that it's dry because it'll be a consistent matte finish. Right now it looks glossy and it doesn't look like it's the correct color, but as it dries, the color will change. And you'll see that it turns perfectly uniform and matte. We're ready for our next coat. Again, we're going light coats. You'll see that there's still some areas where primer's showing through, no problem. That'll get covered with this coat, and then we'll determine if we need a third coat. Again, light coats, even strokes. Okay, we'll let that one dry. The coverage is pretty good. It's gonna take another coat, but I noticed up here in the corner, there's a little bit of unevenness, a little bit of roughness yet. So I'm gonna take 1500 sandpaper and I'm going to dry sand it. You cannot wet sand waterborne paint, but you can dry sand it, and it does not hurt the process at all. All it'll allow us to do is smooth this out a little bit. I'm gonna apply another coat and then we're ready to go again. Smooth that area out. Then we're gonna recoat. Okay, we've done a little dry sanding with 1500 to remove a little bit of unevenness up here. We're gonna put another coat on here and then one final complete coat. So we'll just use the tack cloth again, very lightly, get any of that dust off. I'm gonna let that dry where we did the sanding and then do one final coat. Okay, one last coat. This coat will just be to make sure that all the paint has nice, even coverage because we spotted it a few places where we did a little bit of sanding. So now we're just gonna concentrate on one nice, smooth, even coat. That's our last step before clear coat, so we're gonna let that dry about 30 minutes. We're gonna show you a trick on how to eliminate hard paint lines. Hard paint lines happen when you have masking tape and then you spray paint or clear or primer and then remove the tape. It leaves a very, very distinct line and it doesn't look good if you just leave it that way. So there's a trick where you can roll the tape over. You have to leave yourself enough exposed tape so that you can still stick it to the painted area. You would apply that. Then you have this sort of a canopy where fluid can still get underneath this, but it won't make the hard tape line. And then that way the paint job will flow into the original paint much better. What I recommend is to get enough of this prepared before you're actually ready to paint so that you can take your time, tape off the vehicle, and proceed with the paint job. After we inspected the color coat to make sure it's uniform and applied evenly, we taped off the area again with the rolled tape method so that we create this canopy where Clearcoat will not leave a hard tape line. Instead, it'll feather in because it's somewhat blocked, but all the areas that need to get clear will still get clear on them. We're going to use the TouchUpDirect Clearcoat for this. 2 to 3 coats of clear is usually what you need. Don't put it on too heavy because then it can run, but you do have to put it on heavy enough that you achieve gloss. If you hold the can too far back, it'll come out very matte, which you can still recover, but it takes a lot more work with polishing and wet sanding. I'm going to go around the edges first so that I know that those areas are covered and that feathering that I was talking about happens. And now, even, smooth coats. We're going to let that dry about 10 minutes and then repeat. Ready for our second coat of clear. Lightly with the tack cloth. Pick up any dust that might have settled. Same method, going to go around the edges. Make sure we get some clear under that tape. Second coat complete, and we'll add a third, and that'll be that. Okay, final coat. Again, once more, lightly with the tack cloth. Just in case any dirt settled on it. That's it. We're going to let it dry. Okay, the clear coat is dry. It's time to untape all this. We'll let it dry for about 24 hours, then we'll come back and polish it so that the finish looks just like the rest of the vehicle. Okay, we've untaped it. I'm just inspecting it now. I'm going to look for any edge lines and that type of thing. There's a few here and there, but nothing to be concerned with because we come back, polish these edges out, and we'll blend right into the factory finish. Now that the paint is dried, we've come back 24 hours later. We're going to just go over, polish all the edges, make sure everything looks nice and shiny. We're going to use the TouchUpDirect polishing compound for this. Just put a little bit on a clean towel. And I'm really going to focus on the edges here to make sure that there's no paint lines, no residual. This can be done by hand or with a machine if you're familiar. I think that's good. For this project, we use the TouchUpDirect Aerosol Primer, Color or Base Coat, and the TouchUpDirect Clear Coat. We also use tape, sandpaper, polishing compound and wax and grease remover. We also use the TouchUpDirect putty and a tack cloth.